What's up, you guys? It's Sarah at CARNIVORE.yogi on Instagram. Thank you so much for coming on to my YouTube channel. Please hit subscribe while you're here. Today, I'm going to talk about fasting, intermittent fasting, and extended fasting, my experience with it. Now, I know the title says I'm done with it. You know, I'm not saying that it's something that I will not revisit in the future, but I'm just giving you guys my experience with it, as everything on this channel is my experience. I'm not a doctor, not a nutritional, expert giving you guys advice on telling you what you should or shouldn't do. So just take from this video what you will. I also want to say that if you have a fasting routine and it's really working well for you, if you are sleeping good, you have consistent energy, if you are a female and your cycle is every 28 days and it lasts for the right amount of time, or a regular cycle for you, it's not just like a 2-day cycle, it's like a full cycle, then this video is probably not for you as well. I have a ton of other videos on this channel, so feel free to skip this one and go to another one if you have a fasting routine that's working well for you. However, if when you sit down and get really quiet, you are being honest with yourself and you're saying, I really don't have consistent energy, I am hangry still, that's dysregulated blood sugar, I'm waking up in the middle of the night often, my cycle is not regular, I'm losing hair, I'm trying to lose this 10, 15 pounds and it's not budging no matter how much strict fasting that I'm doing. It just, maybe it'll budge a little bit and then it comes right back with a vengeance. Maybe there is something in this video for you. Maybe there's something of value here for you. So again, just listen at your own risk. So let me just jump right into my experience with fasting. So I started the carnivore diet in January 2019. And of course, I listened to all of the podcasts, all of the YouTubes, all the videos of people talking about how amazing fasting was and autophagy and getting rid of loose skin, and all this stuff sounded so appealing to me. I have, as I've mentioned in previous videos, lost 100 pounds 3 times in my life. Now, I do have loose skin. It is not major, because I've done a lot of working out, good sleeping, good eating, the best that I have been able to do over the last 10 years, but it's still there. I'd love to get rid of it. So fasting sounded very appealing to me. So after about 4 months carnivore, I decided to jump right into the extended fasting, and started off with 72-hour fast. And I literally felt bulletproof. Now, I did not sleep at all. And I wasn't worried because everyone said, oh, your ketones are going to keep you awake. Being in ketosis keeps you awake. Well, I don't know that that's really the best science, and I'm not going to jump into it, but I don't think that that's necessarily a true statement. There is your adrenals that are waking you up because they're stressed. But regardless, I just kept going. So July of, last summer, I decided to do a 6.5-day water fast. Totally my idea. Nobody's, just decided to do it. I was going to do 7 days, but I started feeling really sick, and so I had to stop it. Well, a couple things happened. I got sick as a dog. I was throwing up. I was nauseous. I had some kind of like an infection in my throat, which I went to urgent care. They couldn't really find anything wrong with me. But I got really sick from doing that fast. I don't think it was the way that I broke it. It was bone broth. It was really gentle. It was just that it was too much of a stress for my body, and so my body ended up breaking down. The other thing that happened, even when I started feeling better, is that my cycle went away. I lost my cycle completely, and that scared me because my cycle has really always been regular. Like every 28 days, I'm 40. It's been that way, and I know some people are like, oh, you're turning 40, so your cycle should start to shift and change. Well, I don't think that that's necessarily true. For some people it might be, but there is an obvious stressor here, doing extended fasting, and then boom, now your cycle is completely gone. So that's an issue for me, which is why it gave me pause, and I decided to completely stop extended fasting. And the other thing is that I wanted to, trim up, lose weight, get rid of the loose skin. None of that was happening for me. I would lose weight while I was fasting, and then it would just gradually kind of come back on because I would end up eating more meat. I wouldn't necessarily go on binges, and I think that if you have a history of eating disorders, this is also something you need to think about, because I obviously do have a history of eating disorders, having gained and lost so much weight. So all of that fasting, messed with my head also. So it brought back in those old feelings of restriction and deprivation, and it stressed me out. So anytime that you're emotionally stressed out, that is also going to mess with you hormonally. It's going to boost the cortisol, which is going to steal from your adrenals. Just not a really good thing. And there is a thing called hormetic stress, and some people say that fasting is a hormetic stress. So hormetic stress, we talk about antioxidants, we talk about fiber, we talk about all kinds of things. But if you're watching this, you're more than likely doing the carnivore diet, so you've kind of gotten rid of the fiber and the antioxidants, and you think, oh, those are hormetic stresses. They work for some people, but for me, those didn't work, right? So you see where I'm going with this, with the fasting? For me, the extended fasting did not work. So I put a plug in it, said I'm done with it, got to get my cycle back. So what I did was a 21-day raw liver, 3 ounces every day, tried to eat enough, and the cycle did return, but it kind of didn't really regulate. It would be about time, and then it would not come, it'd be late. And then, the other thing is that I was doing, so I went from extended fasting into intermittent fasting, which I think happens naturally with a lot of people when they do the carnivore diet. You end up just eating less because you're not as hungry. But for me, I would go to work, I'd teach a couple yoga classes, then go to the gym, do a workout, and then eat at like 1 or 2 o'clock. I thought that's fine because that's what everyone says they do. That's what everyone, a lot of the carnivores say. I don't eat anything till 1 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and that's okay. It's intermittent fasting. And then I eat my second meal at, 6 o'clock, and I'd be done for the day. Why, so my cycle never regulated. I was still waking up a lot in the night. And I think that there's also at play here my fat protein ratios, which I'm going to address in an entirely separate video this week. So make sure you're subscribed to get that, because I do believe that played a factor as well. But for me, with my current stress levels, history of eating disorder, I think that, not eating every day until 2 o'clock most of the time was not necessarily a good thing. The other thing, I just finished a book by a lady named Elisa Vitti. I will put her book title below so you can go watch it. It's very well documented, very well referenced, talking about the science behind intermittent fasting. And something I did not realize is that the science showing intermittent fasting is a positive thing. Majority of that science, and again, you can check out the book. She has all of this referenced extremely well, so it's easy to find. All that research has been done, nutritional science has been done on either men or postmenopausal women. They don't do a ton of research. Nutritional science is not done a lot of the time on women of reproductive age because of the liability. Because what if she is pregnant? What if there's a chance she gets pregnant during the study? It's going to throw off the data and could harm an unborn life. So these are laws that have been put in place since the 60s. So what we don't realize about a lot of nutritional science and data is that it is based on men and postmenopausal women. And what she goes on to explain a little bit further in the book is that a lot of the studies that were done on women of reproductive age and female rats show that it's not a net positive result when you do a lot of intermittent fasting. So that brings me to where I am today. So I did a pretty strict intermittent fasting routine from October all the way to January 1st because I did participate in Nutrition with Judy's 75 Hard, and part of that was a 16-8 fast, and I wanted to do the challenge. I wanted to do it right, even though I had a little trepidation about doing any type of fasting the week before my cycle, because I know enough to know that any kind of fasting, if I'm going to do it, do not mess with it that week before the cycle. But I just kind of did it and pushed through, and here's the thing. I didn't feel good. I started having sleep problems back in October, where I would wake up at all hours of the night. I would just be awake. It was like my cortisol was waking me up. And then when I did my CGM experiment, I'm still working on another video for you guys, it showed that my blood sugar was going up in the night when I was waking up. So, and I wasn't eating anything to make that blood sugar go up. So I was still having some blood sugar, dysregulation, and that cortisol was waking me up. And the other thing that was happening to me with the fasting was that I could gain about 10 pounds in like one day. And this is also maybe something to do with my electrolyte balance as well as my fat protein ratios. Electrolyte balance, I addressed that in a separate video, and I think I mentioned already doing a whole separate video on fat protein ratios because upping my fat has helped me tremendously with a lot of issues. But the other thing that I have done recently, which has made me feel like a completely different person, and I've actually dropped 10 pounds in 1 week, you guys. 10 pounds in 1 week. I'll show a picture comparing myself balancing my electrolytes, upping my fat protein, but no more fasting. So I'm literally eating a chunk of fat. I'm eating raw beef suet and a lot of ghee, because those are the things that my body digests very well. I'm eating a chunk of raw beef suet at 6 a.m. before I do my very first meditation. Then I'm eating a little breakfast. Between breakfast and lunch, I'm having some meat broth, and I'm gonna do a meat broth video, I promise, with some ghee in it. Then I'm having a lunch, then I'm having more meat broth with ghee, then I'm having a dinner, and then if I'm hungry after dinner, I'll have a little fat snack before bed. I'm doing this, you guys. I'm not saying this is what you should do. I'm doing this because my adrenals are tapped out. I think I've mentioned that I have a very stressful life. I have a non-speaking, non-verbal autistic child. It's very stressful. History of eating disorder, all this stuff that comes into play. It's not just one thing. It's not just one thing. It's not just the fasting. I think it was also, what I was eating and the electrolyte balance. But this adding in the food all day, like I said, I've lost 10 pounds in a week, and I'm eating 200 grams of fat plus, and I'm eating from 6 a.m. to some nights 8 p.m. So I've switched things up. And I think that I'm going to continue to do this for a while. I'm going to give this 8 weeks. So if you're going to do something, even if you're going to say, oh, I'm going to start intermittent fasting, give it 8 weeks to know how your body responds to it. So I'm just literally like a weekend and 10 pounds down. So I'm all excited about it, but I'm going to continue this, right? And like I said earlier in the video, intermittent fasting is not completely off the table for me. I may revisit it in the future, but for right now, the intermittent fasting, even the 16-8 was damaging my adrenals, was making me tired, making me not feel good. And I see so many women out there, which is another reason why I'm making this video, that are trying to do OMAD, 1 meal a day, tons of fasting, killing themselves with the fasting, going by the clock, and they feel terrible, and it's not working for them. And so this is a message for those women too. You're continuing to try to do this OMAD and 36-hour, 48-hour, 72-hour, you're doing all this fasting. Is it working for you? If it is, then keep going. I'm encouraging you, I'm supporting you, I'm behind you. If it's not working for you, take a step back and maybe think about doing something different. Work with a coach. Again, I will list, as I did in previous videos, a list of coaches that I think could help walk you through this a bit better. But be willing to change things up if it's not working. Don't get stuck in the dogma. Don't get stuck in the science. Don't get stuck in the studies, because you don't even know where those studies came from. So I probably ranted just a bit more than I planned on in this video, but I do hope it was helpful for you. So please leave a comment, share, subscribe, and stay tuned for the next video. I am going to be talking about those fat protein ratios and how tremendously upping my fat has helped me quite a bit. So thanks again for watching, you guys, and have an awesome day.